Oh wow, would you look at that? Nice perfect bag of corn sitting in my freezer. Oh, what could I use that for? Let's grab that, take it out, throw it on the counter, open the drawer and grab a tomato, some dill, an avocado, red onion, and also grab one of those limes too. Close her back up, and we got all the perfect ingredients to make a nice corn salad. Make sure to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit so we can toss the corn in just a minute. Now grab yourself a pan as well as a roll of parchment paper, and then do your best to try and get a nice clean cut. It doesn't really matter though. Parchment paper is probably one of my greatest enemies in life, and it doesn't seem I can ever do it well. Toss it onto the pan, and then make sure you spread it out so it covers all the corners and sides. I'm using corn from the freezer. It's definitely easy to use, but if you wanted to use corn off the cob, that'd almost even be better. Puncture a hole into the corner of the bag and then just start pouring it out around the tray. I probably used about a third of the bag and it seemed to be the perfect amount. Now make sure that the corn is evenly distributed across the pan. You can just give the pan a little shake to spread them out. They can still be touching, you don't really want hills or small mountains on the pan of corn. So grab that, open up your preheated oven and just toss her in. Now it's time for Cam's pro tip number 1. Whenever you're cutting, it can easy for your cutting board to slide around the counter. If you lay down a wet cloth like this and then place your cutting board on top, it helps secure your cutting board so it doesn't slide and risk cutting your fingers. Now we roll in your tomatoes and grab our knife so we can start cutting the vegetables. Whenever I cut my tomatoes, I start off first by cutting them in half, and then I cut off little triangles at the top to cut out the core. I also cut along the edges so that I can prepare to start cutting further on. The second pro tip is all about your knife. You gotta make sure that you're using a knife that has serrated edges like this one when cutting tomatoes. I was using my other knife before, which is great and nice and sharp, but the skin on the tomato can sometimes cause a knife to slip. Serrated knife will cut right through. I have a pretty fancy one, but using just a normal steak knife or bread knife will do great. Always good to protect your fingers, and honestly, makes the job easier. Now finish cutting up the rest of your tomatoes. Cutting tomatoes can take a while, so sometimes when I'm not feeling like it, I'll just grab one of the tomatoes. If you get a good slap like this with your knife, we cut up all for you, so you don't even have to do any more work. Grab the tomatoes, snap your fingers, and bam, they're in the bowl. Now roll in your avocado, and then if you don't want to cut it, you can just pick it up and drop it like it's hot, and bam, you got a half-cut avocado. Now see, mine was being quite ripe, so the middle was a little difficult to take out with my knife. But hey, you know what? I made it work. I had to go pry it out with my hands, but I mean, we got our avocado. So I was going to try and cut it with a knife first inside the shell, but it's honestly easier just to grab a spoon, scoop it out. That way you get nice clean cuts when you do it. Once the avocados are scooped out, put them face down onto your cutting board and then just slice longwise and then grab them, turn them sideways, and then cut in the opposite direction. This will give perfect cubes, which then you can take and put in your bowl easily, which is a snap of your fingers. Grab your onion. Whoa, holy cow. Grab it, put it in the middle of your board, and then grab your knife. So the way I cut an onion is I cut it in half first, and plus I'm only using half for this recipe, so it's easier to store the other side. Onions you want to be careful with because you're going to cut in sideways like this, which is a great way to cut the onion because then you go across this way and then you can start cutting down. It makes perfect little dicing squares. However, you got to be careful with your fingers because cutting across sideways is something that good chance of maybe slipping. Just be careful. Once you have your onion cut, we've done this before, just snap your fingers and then bam, they'll be in the bowl with the other ingredients. Now roll in your lime, and the biggest tip that I've ever learned with limes is to roll it around before you actually start cutting it. If you roll it around, especially if you have a very ripe lime like I have, it lets the juice out easier so that when you cut it, it's easier to squeeze. You can even bang it against the wall like I do. Cut her in half and then squeeze as hard as you can to get all the juice out. More lime juice, the better. I use one lime here, but if you really want to, you can even go for more. Now let your dill fall in from the heavens and then grab your knife to cut off some that's from the top. Cut off as much as you like. It's really up to preference. I cut up probably about a good bunch, and then I chop it up as much as possible into small little bits and pieces. Now, the snap our fingers, we should... Oh, well, it didn't really work this time. That's weird. I don't know why the snap trick to get into the bowl didn't work. Maybe it's because I didn't film you putting it in. Now, by the time you're done cutting all your vegetables, your corn in the oven should be about good. So grab the pan, take it out, and then close the door. Make sure to turn your oven off as well. What I like to do for the corn is to make what I call a corn water slide. So grab the parchment paper from each side and roll it over. Then take it, pick it up, and pour it all into the bowl. That way all the kernels can get in with such little work. If there's any kernels left sitting on the pan, if you just leave a camera recording and walk away, they'll all slowly jump back into the bowl without you needing to do anything. Now that you have all your ingredients in a bowl, slide in some salt and grab it, and then you can do your perfect salt bay impression. Add as much salt as you want. If you want it to be saltier, add more salt. If you want it to be less salt, don't add any more. Simple as that. Give it a good shake and make sure you're using a big bowl as well to make it easier to toss and throw around all of the ingredients. Mixing well is a key important part of this salad. Now, my bowl was a little bit too big to serve in, plus I don't have that much space in my fridge, so simply putting a nice kitchen towel over top will make it shrink to a smaller bowl. And there you have it, corn salad. Easy, simple, and to make, and delicious. Great for summer days and also just when you're hungry. And I hope you enjoy.